what's going to happen over the next 3 to 10 years. And then we'll get into, and then we'll talk a little bit about the impacts on legal technology as AI evolves. And we'll do a quick demo also, and then hopefully have some time for questions. It's 30 minutes. It's going to go by pretty quickly, I think. But so this first part here, the progress of AI over the next 5 to 10 years. We're a technology company in kind of the venture capital space. Our goal is to predict where technology is moving and building products and tools that serve lawyers today, yes, but also building products that we think are going to be relevant, impactful, important into the future. And so this is a really important part of our jobs, to try and predict the trends in technology, how it's evolving, and so we have an opinion on it. And so I think the way when we look at how AI has been progressing over the past several years and try and forecast into the future, I think there's two basic ways to look at it. These are made-up charts to try and predict or demonstrate two different paths that we could be on. And there's lots of active debate about which path we're on. So the path on the left here is a steady exponential progress of improvement. We would call this the ramp path. Or there's this unpredictable kind of step function improvement. And where some people would point to a ChatGPT as this breakthrough, AI scientific engineering breakthrough that resulted in a huge step function improvement. And the answer to this question is actually really important for, I think, maybe some obvious reasons if you look at this chart. If we're on this jump path, which I think many people reasonably might think we're on this path, there's probably slower progress over the next 5 to 10 years. We had this huge breakthrough. We've kind of seen what the technology is capable of, but we're kind of waiting for another big breakthrough to get some more improvement. And if we're on this ramp path, then the next 5 years are going to continue, in fact, at a faster rate of development than the past 5 years. And being able to predict 5, 10, 15, 20 years out becomes very difficult. And I think for anybody who's had experience with AI tools right now, you'll see these are pretty incredible. With all their faults and limitations, they're very incredible in many ways. And if we're on this ramp path, it's just going to keep getting more and more sophisticated. And so this is really important in our view, really important to know and for the industry to be aware of. So which path do you think we're on? I don't know if people have an opinion on this. If you do have an opinion on this, maybe let's see a show of hands for on the left, this steady incremental improvement. Anybody? How about on the right, jump path? Okay, so most people here, it seems, who raise their hands think we're on the right. A lot of people abstaining, so that's fine. I'm going to demonstrate to you why we think we're very clearly on this exponential ramp. And then towards the end, talk a little bit about it. I can understand why this might be a bit scary to people or unnerving, but I really don't think there's a need for that, other than there's a lot of very rapid change coming. It's going to continue and not slow down in our view. But we'll go through some arguments on either side. So some of the arguments that were on the jump path, there's a few here. So and some of these are somewhat technical, but I think not so technical that it should paint the picture. So scaling laws, this next word prediction, this is what these large language models do right now. They're really good at kind of predicting the next word, and it makes it seem like it's forming these sentences. And then there's some data limits also, and so we'll get into some of these. So scaling laws, what we've seen over the past few years is as these models get bigger, they get more performant. But you can see this chart here, they're starting to tail off. So at a certain point, when you make the models bigger and bigger, they're not actually getting that much better. So this would be an argument that, okay, we got this new model in like a ChatGPT format, but we can't really make this model much bigger to get more continuous improvement. This is true. And so volume of training data. These models now have pretty much read everything that's out there on the internet, and there isn't really a lot more data. And also, as you scale the amount of data that these models train on, you get a plateauing of performance. So it only makes sense to keep feeding it more and more data. This is also true, another argument for why we might be on this jump path. And definitely a lot of people point very directly to this next word prediction as being a trivial kind of technology, really a trick. It's making us think that it's writing out these somewhat thoughtful, sometimes very not thoughtful sentences and phrases, and it's just a statistical trick to do this. And a lot of people think about this analogy of if you were to just put a person in a room, lock them in, and could they really just think their way to higher levels of intelligence? Even if you surround them with all these books, can they just read and just think their way to higher intelligence? I think our intuition is probably that's not the case. And so these, again, are some reasons for why we would be on this jump path. I think perhaps what we believe to be far more compelling reasons that we're on this exponential path is, well, a few of these reasons here that I'll go through. So the first one is, this is a graph showing how the entire scientific community, computer science community, has improved at compressing data over the past 40 years. And our abilities to compress data per second, this has continued to improve. And we would argue, and I think this is more and more now, the general view among the AI scientific community is that compression is intelligence. Computer compressing data is artificial intelligence. And so you look at these large language models, you look at just the size of these models that have read the whole internet, you're basically compressing all this knowledge on the internet down into these models. You can measure that compression in bytes. And I would argue that this is a much better measure for how we as a civilization are improving, continuing to improve our ability to build AI systems. And so I would argue that you have to have a pretty compelling reason for why this line is not going to continue to go up. And this is on a log chart here. So it's a continuous exponential improvement of our ability to compress more and more data faster and faster. Another argument here too is the whole idea of next word prediction as being this trick. I actually think there's a lot of brilliance in the ability to predict the next word. And I think when you see this, if it's just happening over and over again, you start to have this kind of manifestation of knowledge. And certainly predicting the right word at the right time, that word might be the key to the answer to a particular question. And if it's reliably predicting that right word, it seems to us at least, and me certainly, that this is some manifest knowledge that's important. So I don't buy the argument that it's just a statistical trick. I think there really is a manifest knowledge coming out of these models. Then there's also the data problem, which is so if we think back to the single room or the single person in a room argument, they're not going to think their way to higher intelligence. Well, what if we now add another person in there, and now they're debating, they're engaging in ideas, maybe now 10 people, how about 1,000 people, 10,000 people? This is exactly what different AI agents are doing right now, debating ideas, generating all of this data, and this, even with the models that have these diminishing returns in these scaling laws, they're debating, they're learning, they're generating all of this other additional data that they can learn from. Probably the most compelling reason, in our view, of where significant improvement, again, on this exponential curve. So for the next couple of years, it's going to be even more improvement than we've seen over the past couple of years, is this concept of unhobbling. And so right now, if these LLMs are hobbling along, which I'm sure many of you who've used them, that might be a good way of describing them. There's a lot of limitations. They're not great at certainly not great at everything. Might be pretty good at some things. But this unhobbling concept, or agentic workflows, and agents are all the rage in legal technology, which if you've been following along, I'm sure you're aware. But there's three key techniques that, in our view, becoming more and more prominent, and we're going to see continuous rapid improvement in these AI technologies and products. The first one is this chain of thought. And so if you have a complex task, we originally thought, even when ChatGPT came out, let's see if it can do this complex task. And most of the time you'd find, well, actually it can't do that at all. Well, now what if we break that complex task up into 3 different stages? maybe now 10 different stages, 20 different stages, and each one we can repeatedly get good results. So now eventually, yeah, it's now doing this complex task that a single model on its own could not do, but now we break it up into multiple steps, and yes, these models can do that repeatably and consistently. The other one is scaffolding. Now there are different techniques, like you have one model to generate one output, another model to assess the quality of that output, and then maybe another model even to assess the quality of the model assessing the quality. This kind of scaffolding of all these agents doing all of these different things is where we're getting significant improvements again, really quite astonishingly, actually. And then tool use. This is another huge unhobbling technique. LLMs now can go on the internet. They can find more content. They can do these agentic things out in the digital world. And again, if you have multiple models working together to do these sorts of things. Anyway, the idea is that all of these concepts, we don't need another significant breakthrough in LLM architecture, computer science, AI science, to get continuous rapid improvement in these models. And everything that we're seeing, it's only continuing to improve in unbelievable ways. And I think for us, it should be exciting. For the legal profession, I believe it should be exciting. There's a lot of reasons to be concerned, totally acknowledge those. What all of those are, maybe subject for a different talk, but I really want to focus on and emphasize and get this message out there that it is not slowing down, it is only accelerating. We strongly believe that all the evidence points to the fact that we're on this exponential curve, which means we can't look backwards to accurately predict in a linear way what's going to happen over the next few years. If we're standing on an exponential curve, into the future, it's more than if we were looking backwards. So generally, again, I'm just going to touch on this briefly, like what all this means for the practice of law. I would say that well, certainly, and I'm just going to breeze over this quickly, but 100% the human lawyer involved in the provision of legal services is not going away anytime soon. I'm sure I don't need to convince anybody in this room of that, but it's not because AI technology won't get there. I think there's something fundamentally human about the delivery of legal services. We believe, at least, and I think that's going to be proven true more and more. That being the case, the lawyers that are focused on establishing that connection with their client, understanding the client's needs, working with them, strategizing with them, and at the same time being able to leverage these tools and use them properly, they're the lawyers that we believe are going to be the lawyers, I think, contributing mostly, providing the highest quality services over the next 5 to 10 to 20 plus years. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into a very quick demo, and I just want to give a brief glimpse, if people haven't tried Alexi yet, a brief glimpse of what it looks like, what it can do. And it's always improving, and this is a version of the product that was launched fairly recently, but I'm just going to paste an example in here. So this is, we represent a wife in a divorce in Ontario. Husband earned $500K before the divorce. Now he earns $75K, claiming stomach ulcers are from the stress of the divorce, preventing him holding a higher paying job. So we'll just hit this in here. And then the system, again, using a combination of various different models, it's going to spit out some sort of answer. This right here at least would be something similar to what you might get on a ChatGPT, but the next thing I'll type in here is, that's great, but can you generate a research memo for me? And then so the system will come back. It's going to ask for a couple other clarifying questions, confirming what the facts are, and you can always change these, edit these, and then it's going to confirm exactly what the question needs to be, and again, you can always edit this, hit submit, it's identified Ontario, and then there we go, now it's working on the memo. So it says here 3 minutes, you can see up here on the right, it's going to generate a memo. And so now maybe there's other pieces of documents that, or other documents that we might want to understand. what the document's about. You can imagine documents can be thousands of pages. You can have thousands and thousands of these documents in any given litigation, tens of thousands, if not more than that. And it's really important to understand what these documents say. So uploaded this document, and now I'm just going to copy this in here faster than typing. Now please just summarize this document for me. And it's going to generate a summary, and with pinpoint citations, very accurate. You can always go and verify, is this a proper summary of this document? Oh, it's not able to, oh, it's still working through processing it. There we go, if I do it again. And so yeah, so this is it's gonna take maybe 30 seconds or so to summarize this document. And in the meantime, you can continue to ask all sorts of questions about different topics. You can upload more files. All the documents that you upload, you can find here on the left. And so you can see the memo's still being worked on. It should be generated any moment, and then it will send the message to the chat here. So here's the document summary. Gives a quick overview of what the document said. And then you can also dive in and ask certain questions about it. So let's see this one here. What diagnostic procedures were performed? And then it's going to give some pinpoint citations with an answer to that question. Okay, and then let's, so the memo's still 1 minute away. We'll just try one more question here just to. We'll wait for this memo so we can show you what a memo looks like. And so you can see here now it's giving precise answer. And so you can, upload files. Right now it's about 2,000 pages, but there's more integrations that we're working on to make it easier to get files stored, all with security, privacy, best practices. That's obviously super important for us to consider and build around. So here's a memo here. So you can see what a memo looks like. References all the key cases. Sometimes it misses key cases, but it references, it's a good start. It's often a good start and gives all the authorities at the bottom with excerpts from all of the cases. So that's, I mean, there's lots more I can go into a demo here, but why don't I open it up to see if there are any questions. If there aren't any questions, that's totally fine, but you can also screenshot this or take a picture of this and you can sign up for a free trial. It's easy to use. You can get set up and give it a shot. But yeah, happy to answer any questions. Is there a microphone? We're just waiting for the microphone and then, yeah.
Thank you. Laura Oliver, FOLA board. Does the program have the ability to, say, take two sets of documents, I'm thinking two sets of bank records, and you say to it, find all transfers that trace between the two accounts?
So that very specific use case of comparing between two documents, within 3 weeks, customers can use it. It's working right now. This was one of the things that customers asked for, but within 3 weeks, yes. But if you were to log on and try that right now, it's only single documents that it would get an answer from, but that's coming very soon.
Great, yeah. Thank you.
Not quite. I just had a quick question for sole practitioners. I've utilized the product in the past before and liked it. I trialed it a little bit. But after it was switched from a fee per memo model to this exclusively subscription model, unfortunately, it wasn't something that my size of practice could justify an ongoing monthly cost for. Whereas an individual research memo pay-per-use situation, I could obtain instructions or myself decide to eat the cost of certain memos on certain topics once we reach the stage of litigation or once we're doing motion prep or what have you, depending on complexity. So I'm wondering if there's appetite to reintroduce a pay-per-use model, because from my perspective, the difference is I'm not going to pay $150 a month. I can't justify it. Unfortunately, my practice just isn't big enough. But I would maybe spend a couple $100s a year on memos for particular purposes where I can disperse that back to the client upon receipt of their instructions. Is there appetite to reintroduce that kind of model again, or provide a hybrid model for sole practitioners that just don't have the volume to justify the cost?
Yeah, well, we did just introduce solo pricing, but it sounds like you, for $150 a month, but it sounds like you're aware of that. I would encourage you to reach out to somebody on our team. We can see if there's something that we can do truly for solo firms and figure out an appropriate pricing model.
Or even maybe a firm, like a solo sharing situation, like if myself and 3 or 4 other sole practitioners could share an account, that might be something that there'd be more appetite with as well, just to put it out there, but I'll definitely reach out. So thanks for taking my question.
Yeah.
Hi, Robert Carnival from Essex Law Association. I'm one of the few that thinks we're woefully behind in what's to come. I think we're sort of whistling past the graveyard when it comes to AI and generative content. My question for Alexi, and every lawyer in here is going to cringe hard when I say this, but do you imagine, how far off do you think the software might be from interfacing directly with the client to ask follow-up questions, to edit? Because sometimes, you know, if you plug something in and ask for some sort of generative content, lawyer then reviews it, and perhaps the AI might actually know or spot an issue, and rather than have to, it's very prompt answer, whereas and it's not really general AI, but if it picks up an issue, to prompt the lawyer to say, have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? Or to even ask the client, provide a portal to say, hey, do you have a pension? Right? This list looks like, you know, the documents you submitted looks like you're, you know, have a life insurance policy under your work. Do you have any information on that, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so our strongly held view is that this technology should never be in front of a client. It's always lawyer facing. And that being said, the design of this product right now, it's exactly for things like that, to be able to add meeting notes, add as much information as you can about the file. And it's going to help you, especially over the next several months as more and more of these features are rolled out. It's going to help you identify things that you would have ordinarily missed, perhaps. And our view is that the mistakes that AI might make when powered with a human lawyer, it's going to significantly reduce the errors overall. So while there are certain mistakes now that AI makes, the net effect is still to reduce errors. That's what we see with our customers and the firms that we work with. But to your point, client-facing, if what you mean by that are the responses accurate enough that a client could rely on it or a lawyer could rely on it for their client, yes, but not all the time. And the problem is you don't know which of the time. So we're always encouraging our customers to review the output always, confirm its accuracy. But what we see is over time you start to learn the system more and more, and you can more accurately predict when it's going to be reliable, when it might not be. And reviewing things, correcting things is what we've seen. People often say, well, that doesn't save me any time. It's quite clear that it does. Reviewing things, confirming its accuracy is significantly faster than starting from scratch. Any other questions? Okay, thanks everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Mark, and thank you for Alexi's continued sponsorship of our plenary as well. We have a break now. There's some important information, though. We're at the Choose Your Own Adventure section of our plenary now. There's going to be 3 breakout rooms. You can choose which breakout room to go to in about 10 minutes.